Good morning, children. Today we are going to start with grammar. Now, in grammar, what we're going to learn, the first thing we're going to learn is figures of speech. Now, what is a figure of speech over here as is given? It is a poetic device. Now, what is a device? A device is an instrument. Okay, instrument which is used for a particular purpose. So here the instrument what is used like for example, I'll just give you an example of a pen. A pen is used for writing. An eraser is used for erasing what is written. So in the same way here, a figure of speech is a device which is used to make the poetry more attractive, different, sound different. Yes, make it more beautiful, more flowery. It will not be as simple as your lessons that you read, the passages that you read, the stories that you read. Like a simple example I'll give you is you have words like ain't, A-I-N-T, which means are not. Okay, die, dine, thou. All these words are not used in the regular passages or regular lessons that you read, but you will find them very often in a poem. In a poem, it's common to have such words which are not being used in everyday life. So, the reason these words are put in a poem is to make it more attractive or make it different compared to what you would be reading in a lesson. Others, there would be no difference between a poem and a lesson, right? So, now these devices, these figures of speech, they do the work of making your poem more attractive and sometimes making even the meaning of some words which are difficult to understand, making the meaning more clear. And here it is said it is a poetic device. It is a poetic device because it's used only and only in a poem. You'll never find a figure of speech in a lesson or in a paragraph. Clear? Okay. Now let's begin with the first figure of speech, which is a simile. Now if you see the word simile itself, it sounds like similar. Clear? Now in a simile, there is a comparison made between two things. Very important to remember is the two things have to be two different kind of things. One example I can give you is a boy and a tortoise. You say the boy, this fellow is as slow as a tortoise. Now what is being compared? A boy and a tortoise. Now both are different type of creatures. This boy is a human being, the tortoise is an animal. So you are comparing a human being to an animal. Clear? I can give you one more example. You can say even a boy and a coconut tree because he is very tall. So you say, oh God, he's like a coconut tree, so thin and tall. Again, you're comparing the boy, which is who is a human being, to a tree. So they are two different kinds of things which are being compared. Now the second point you have to remember in the simile is that when two different things are being compared, there has to be something common or similar between them. Now what I gave you, the first thing is the boy and the tortoise, both are slow. Maybe the tortoise is supposed to be slow because he walks very slow, he does everything very slow. Same way the boy, maybe he doesn't understand, he's slow in understanding, slow in writing, he walks slow, everything is slow, he speaks slowly. That's why he's compared to a tortoise. Same thing with the boy and the tree. The boy is very tall. The similarity between both of them is that their height. Both are very, very thin and tall. So, first point, when you're making a comparison in a simile to different things of different kinds, the second point is there should be something common between them. And the third and most important point is that for it to be a simile, the words as dot dot as or like have to be used to make the comparison. Okay, he's as slow as a tortoise, he's as tall as a coconut tree, he is like a coconut tree. So you, to make the comparison between the two things, you used the words as as like. Clear? So only and only then it is a simile. Remember, the words as like have to be used for it to be a simile. Now let's go to the first example. The dress was as white as snow. Now the two things being compared here is the dress and snow. What is similar? I told you two different things, dress and snow. Similarity is both are white. Both are white. Now which words are used? As, white, as. So which was used to make a comparison? As dot dot as. So when you are writing that it is a simile, the explanation that you will give is, this is a very easy explanation, the first one that I've given you. I've given you two ways how you can write the explanation. The first one is a common one where you can use it for anything, any of the similes. Whereas the second one is more specific. So only and only if you understand what two things are being compared, you should write the second one. The first one is common where you can write for anything because you are not mentioning the things being compared. I have mentioned here in the bracket for you so that you understand. Okay. Now the first one, a direct comparison is made between two things of different kinds with the help of the words as dot dot as. This is the basic explanation you can give in a simile. Now you go to the second one. She sang like a nightingale. Now if you see here, she and nightingale, these are the two words given. Now exactly what I was telling you in the first one, you will understand it here. Now you may think that she is being compared to a nightingale, where if you write that a direct comparison is made between she and a nightingale or a girl and a nightingale, it will be wrong because the girl is not compared to the nightingale. It's her singing that is compared to the singing of the nightingale. That's the reason I said if you don't understand what is being compared, don't sit to write the as I've written in the second. You just write the first. A direct comparison is made between two things of different kinds with the help of the word. Here it will be like, because she sang like a nightingale. So with the help of the word like. Is it clear? Now I'm just telling you the second way in case you are very clear, very specific with what is being compared with what. Only then you will write this second way of explanation. A direct comparison is being made between the singing of a girl and the nightingale. Clear? So only if you're sure that you're writing the correct thing, you will write it in the second way. Otherwise, the general way of writing would be the one for the first example. Now, one very important point to remember is that if two things are of the same kind, like I will say he is as tall, Ram is as tall as Shyam. Now, there are two things being compared. There is a similarity over here, and as is being used. Yes, both are tall, and the word as is also being used as, but it is not a simile because both are the same kind of things being compared. Ram is compared to Shyam, and Ram is a boy and Shyam is a boy. Both are human beings. So since they are not two different things or kinds of things, it is not a simile. This is one very important point you have to remember. Okay, now we move on to the next one. That is alliteration. Now what is an alliteration? When a sentence is given to you, each word begins with an alphabet, correct? So when the sentence is given to you, you look at the first letter, first alphabet of each word. When you find two alphabets, like say the sun shines, like in the first example, the sun shines in the morning. The first alphabet which is common is S in sun and S in shines. So in such a situation, it is called as an alliteration. Now very important that you look only and only at the first alphabet. Do not look at any other alphabet. Clear? And it's only the first alphabet, not the whole word. So you will, when you look at the first alphabet and you find that two or more alphabets begin with the same letter, then it is an alliteration. And how are you going to explain it? You will mention the alphabet that is being repeated. The letter S is repeated for poetic effect. That's it. Now we go to the second example. He dived deep down into the water. Here what's being repeated? D. D is being repeated not once, not twice, but thrice. So here you will write the letter D is repeated for poetic effect. You have to remember the explanation because you are getting marks for writing your proper explanation. Clear? So alliteration is only the first alphabet being repeated. Now, when the alphabet is being repeated, it is very important to note small words like an, on, the, of, at, to are not counted as alliteration. Because in a sentence you may have an repeated 100 times or so often, the repeated so often. Every second sentence will be an alliteration. So it is very important to note generally these words, if they are repeated, it's not counted in an alliteration. Clear? Now only when is this counted? When you're talking of, if you see, you're speaking about God or you're talking about Him. Yes. Now when you're talking about Him, that is H-I-M-H capital, because you're talking about God. Or you're saying He has made. Who is the He? God. Who is the Him? God. His works are mighty. So who is the His? Gods. Okay, that time your first alphabet will always be in capital. And that time, even though it is a 2-letter word He, even though it's a 3-letter word His, even though it's a 3-letter word Him, that time the letter H will be considered as alliteration because you're talking about God. Clear? I've given you an example. We praise Him for He has made us. Okay, so here the letter H is repeated. I have not counted has. Has is there. H-E-S, has is there. But I have not counted it because it's not as important as God. So both Him and He stand for God. So that's why the letter H in He and the letter H in Him is counted in alliteration. Clear? Okay, now let's move on to the next one, that is repetition. Now repetition and alliteration are somewhat similar, the difference being that in alliteration you look at only and only the first letter of the words, whereas in repetition you see that the whole word is repeated, or maybe more than one word, maybe a full phrase, like maybe 2 words, maybe 3 words. Okay, so when more than one word is repeated, it's called a phrase. Otherwise only a single word is repeated, maybe repeated once, maybe repeated twice, thrice. Okay, but more than once. So see the first example. He chewed and chewed the bone. So the full word that is repeated is chewed. So your explanation will be something like how you did your alliteration. Yeah, instead of the letter S is repeated, you will say the word, not letter. Remember, either you will use word or you will use phrase here. So the word chewed is repeated for poetic effect. The rest of it is the same, just like alliteration. So if you remember alliteration, you should be able to remember repetition. Just remember the difference between the two. One, alliteration is the first alphabet. Repetition is the full word or full phrase. Now the second one, I've given you example of a phrase. Oh my, oh my. So here your explanation will be the phrase. Oh my is repeated for poetic effect. Okay, is it clear? Now we go to the next one, the last one for today is inversion. Now what do you mean by inversion? It is taken from the word to invert, I-N-V-E-R-T. Invert means to make it upside down. In Hindi बोल रहे उल्टा करना. Okay, like instead of standing on your feet, if you're standing on your head, so you are standing inverted or you're standing upside down. Correct? Okay. So in an inversion, what happens? The words in the sentence are not in the proper prose order. Now, what is the proper prose order? In the proper prose order, always the answer or the sentence starts with the subject. Then you have the verb or the action, what action the subject is doing. Then you will have the object or the rest of the sentence. The first example, now if your sentence is not in this order, maybe your object is first, your verb is first, or rest of sentence is first, and then the rest of the things, then it is an inversion. Okay, so for you, very easy to identify, what you have to do is first try to pick the verb. Try to pick the verb. Okay, then see the verb is the action. Correct? So when you see the verb, which is the action, try to see who is doing the action. Okay, like say I'll give you an example. A song she sang. A song she sang. Okay, now what is the action here? Sang. Right? So now you have to say what is the action? The verb is sang. Now who is singing? Who is singing? She. So that means it should have started with she. That is the subject. Who is singing? So you should have she sang. And then what did she sing? A song. So she sang a song. This should have been the proper prose order. Clear? So to identify how to make it in the proper prose order, first look out for the verb. Then see who is doing the action. That person or the thing doing the action will come first, then your verb, and then you will have the rest of it, the order of it. That's your object and rest of the sentence. Clear? Sometimes you don't have rest of the sentence. You just have subject, verb, object, like as I gave you, she sang a song. Finish. That's subject, verb, object. So if I want subject, verb, object and rest of sentence, she sang a song very beautifully. So very beautifully will be the rest of the sentence. Clear? Okay, let's go to our first example here. 10,000 saw I at a glance. Now what is the action? Saw. What is the action here? Verb, saw. Now who saw? I saw. So your proper prose order would be I saw. What did he see? 10,000. So I saw 10,000 at a glance. Clear? So the explanation that you will write is the words are not in the proper prose order. The proper prose order is I saw 10,000 at a glance. That's it. The whatever I've written below it in bracket is for your understanding. There's no need for you to write that. The next example, slowly but steadily the crowd dispersed. Now, what is the action here? Dispersed. Dispersed means you can say spread out. Yes. In science you'll have learned dispersed. The seeds of the trees are dispersed by the wind. Yes, they're spread out far and wide. They go to different places. So the crowd who had people who had gathered at one place have now spread out and gone away. Now, who is dispersing? The crowd. So it should be the crowd dispersed slowly but steadily. So your explanation will be the words are not in the proper prose order. The proper prose order is the crowd dispersed slowly but steadily. Okay. Now this is the end for today. I'm not teaching you more because you have to learn this. And first thing you have to do is write this exactly as I have given you. So even what's in the bracket, you will write it so that it's easy for you to understand. So but it's remember what's in the bracket is not necessary for you to write as the explanation in the exam, but I've given whatever is in the bracket is for you to make it easy for you to understand what I am speaking about or what is being spoken about. Clear? So the first thing you will do is in your 200 pages grammar book, which is supposed to be blank up till now, you will use it only and only for grammar, and only when I tell you to write things in your grammar book. None of your textbook work will come in your grammar book. Your grammar book is totally separate. Okay, so you will write this as it is, your figures of speech, in your grammar book, and I will be teaching you in the next 3 days more figures of speech, which you will continue writing after this. At the end, after I finish teaching how much I have to teach you in the 7th, I will give you the exercise. So for that, to be able to do the exercise, you have to learn this. So after you finish writing it, please learn it. Very important, you have to also learn the spellings of the words, like alliteration, repetition, inversion, all this. Simile, you have to learn the spellings, because if you don't write the right spelling also, you are not going to get full marks. I am going to cut your marks. So you have to learn not only the words, you have to learn the spellings and the explanation, how you are going to explain. Clear? So this is your homework for today. I have not given you an exercise. As I said, you will get your exercise, and after I finish teaching all the figures of speech that I want to teach in the 7th. You have more figures of speech in the 8th. There are more than around 20, I think so, in the 8th. So with those I will teach you next year. Now the basic ones, and which are little simple, I am teaching you this year. And after we learn figures of speech, only then I will teach you the poem, because then you can apply your knowledge. What you have learned here, you can apply it when you're learning the poem. Clear? So please don't forget, do your homework, write the notes that are there in this as it is, including what's in the bracket, and please learn it along with the spellings properly. Thank you.